Action. Hey everybody, I am Jonathan with the Kingdom Far, Far Away, and we are here at Purple Dragon Games, teaming up together to celebrate the Titanic. Today is April 14th. It's the anniversary of the Titanic. It was 1912, right? So it would be 114 years. Pretty amazing. It's still such a strong part of the culture and on everyone's mind, even still today. It's very interesting. So we're here celebrating Titanic with a Kingdom Far, Far Away. We like to search for faith stories wherever we can, and there's some good ones in the Titanic. And it's an important thing to kind of think about when we're talking about faith, because we think all things are under God's control. So why would something this catastrophic be allowed to happen? It's largely a personal thing to think about, but it was definitely under His control. And so I want to direct us to one of our little relics here. Here we go. So a lot of this focus is on the passenger stories, and we found a lot of stories about really cool passengers that had very deep faith and kind of how they handled it, and in the moment how they navigated it, and sometimes afterward how they dealt with it. And it's very fascinating. I hope that everybody kind of take a moment and remember the people that lost their lives. Some gave them up willingly. It's a very fascinating thing to learn about.
Alice Catherine Cleaver boarded the Titanic as a nanny to a powerful first-class family. In an odd but harrowing story, she saved the family's infant son Trevor by boarding Lifeboat 11. In a sad twist of events, the child's mother left another lifeboat with her 3-year-old daughter, distraught and trying to find them in the panic that unfolded that night. A decision out of desperation that cost her and her daughter their life. This is an actual picture of Trevor and his sister Lorraine that we inserted into an educational passenger card that further tells their story. It's tragic and sobering to think of the families divided that fateful night. This is Mr. Ismay, the director of the White Star Line, and one of the most infamous stories aboard the Titanic. Joseph Bruce Ismay boarded a lifeboat to save his own life. But when the public learned he took a seat rather than serving in honor like the other men did, he received public humiliation. What most don't know is that he later regretted the dishonor and devoted the remainder of his life to charity and changed. But his good deeds were rarely spoken of, and he'll always be remembered for that one fateful choice. This story reminds us that people can change, but the good works unnoticed are the ones that really count.
All right, so I want to talk about a little bit about the sinking and what happened. And one thing we like to talk about is causes of things. And in particular with Titanic, a lot of people are quick to blame the lifeboats. And they say there weren't enough lifeboats. And it's true that more people would have made it had there been more lifeboats. But in comparison to a lot of the things that went wrong, it's a pretty minor issue. So I want to kind of present a few for your consideration, for you to think about. So for example, I don't think a lot of people know this. There was a shift change right before the ship departed, and the original lookout pocketed the key to a locker. And so the lookout that was on duty for the voyage had no key to this locker, and the binoculars were in that locker. So there were no binoculars on board. Also, the sea was very calm that night, and there was no moon. So if you think about if there had been waves, they would have been breaking on the iceberg. And that actually makes it easier to see. Plus, they were speeding. Southampton to New York, they were trying to set a water speed record and get there in so much time, and they were going faster than they should have been. So you factor those things together. Also, a lot of people do know this. The bulkheads didn't go all the way up to the deck, so water was spilling over the top. But here's one you may not know. There was a fire when they departed. And so you think about all these things. And then the most interesting one is there was a ship within visual sight of the Titanic when they hit, and the radio operator for the Titanic had kind of gotten into a discussion, a heated discussion, let's call it, with the radio operator of this other boat, which was the California. And had that not happened, and the California radio operator went to bed, so there was no way for Titanic to reach them any longer. And had that not happened, California probably would have saved everybody because they were right there. It's such a sad thing to think about. So I want to just kind of, it's a good time to walk us through this. A lot of people do know this, the kind of the stages that Titanic went through, the initial sinking, and this is where the water would have started flowing over those bulkheads and filling up and up and up, and that's why the front started to get so much heavier than the back, and the back lifted out and then it snapped. And as you can see here, it would have started about 11:40 was probably around impact, and by 2 o'clock, that's about 3 hours, a little bit after 2, it's getting pretty hopeless. But the California was so close. They were probably less than 30 minutes away. They would have saved so many more people than extra lifeboats would have. And here's the other side, Titanic coming to its final resting place. It's such a fascinating but also tragic and sad story that a lot of lessons were taken forward from, at least. And then we also have something pretty cool. I'll just set this down. We have a little piece of the Titanic. This is an actual piece of coal that was on the boat. This was recovered during the 1994 expedition. I think James Cameron was involved in that one.
I don't know, yeah.
How cool is this?
It was recovered by RMS Titanic Inc.
So, very neat. And so it's interesting stuff to think about, especially for people of faith. Why did things like this happen? And I feel like anytime human souls return to the Maker in great number, it's something that we need to think about, way about. So, thank you for watching.
A Kingdom Far, Far Away is dedicated to education through a biblical lens and uncovering history's hidden mysteries. We make free films, podcasts, and lessons that build faith and understanding in the Bible. To find out more information, go to akingdomfarfaraway.com. And if you like our content, please consider supporting our organization by donating or simply following and subscribing and sharing our content. All donations are tax deductible, and sharing and following our social media can help grow our community to support faith education. We are always having something new and surprising coming down the pipeline, so you don't want to miss our updates. Until next time.
It wasn't recording. Sorry.
Poor babe.
Go again.
All right. So this is an actual piece of coal that was on the boat.
I hit the button stop. Just want to keep talking.
Do I, just from where I was? I guess you can clip all this. So we like to try and find inspirational faith stories wherever we can, and there's some good ones in the Titanic.